Okay, welcome to day 2, I guess, of the Kino Knits Instagram lives. There's nobody on here yet, but I did one of these yesterday and I learned a few things. One, which I suspected, is that when you save these and put them on your stories to show for 24 hours, then there's this really long, awkward pause at the beginning that you can't cut. So I'm just going to start in and start talking. I see a few people have joined me. Thank y'all. My family is currently heading out of the house to go to the park, so you may hear some 5-year-old whining in the background. But today, for however long this takes, I'm going to go ahead and do a tour of the office/craft room. It's a teeny little place. This house was built in 1954, and this used to be one of the bedrooms, but the people before us expanded the house, so now we use it as an office. So coming in, let me flip this around. This is the whole thing. So, take your dog with you by rail. And what we did is there was a big closet with those doors that kind of pop into place. And before my older son was born, we had the closet doors taken out and the inside of the closet space turned into a desk area. It's a little messier than usual, but I purposely didn't clean it up to show you sort of real life. So it's got desk drawers and some built-in cabinets, and this is the workspace. So right now I've got my laptop. I have a whole bunch of stitch dictionaries out because I'm working on a new shawl design. This is a thread catcher where you can throw your trash threads for when you're sewing. Sewing machine kind of tucks back in here when not in use. And at the opposite end, we have the printer. So looking around the room, vacuum cleaner doesn't really belong here, but that's where it is. One of the things I showed yesterday was this set of bookshelves. This is from IKEA, and the one on the left holds, I've got a whole bunch of interweave knits up there, different books. You can see where the stitch dictionaries were, different old books and things, different catalogs from old Maryland Sheep and Wool festivals, which would have been next weekend, but now won't be. And then different sort of, machine knitting books. I need to get those out now that I know how to use the knitting machine. And then down to a few on things like gardening and other craft stuff. The yarn is sorted into these bins. I've got all kinds of bumper stickers just stuck on them from various things, and I have them numbered. So 1 all the way down to 24, and when I sort my yarn and put it into my Ravelry stash, I say which bin number it is stored in. Hey to you who are joining. Most of them are sort of sorted thematically. This one is mostly sock yarn. This one is used to be scrap yarn, but this is like yarn that's not in Ravelry. It's sort of leftovers for if I need to do repairs for garments and things that I know are still around. There's a few bins, like this bin is all hand spun. That bin at the top is not in Ravelry because it's all the kind of stuff that I use to do color work. So that's those shelves, and it's as I said, it's a forcing function. When those bins are full, which they're pretty full right now, I don't buy more yarn. And when they're start to get empty, I feel like I can get a little bit more yarn. So scooting back to the left a little bit, I have this sort of antique wash stand. And then this is, hi Aunt Beth, that's my aunt. This is a poster that my friend Holly gave me. I believe it's from Gussler Designs. But there's this antique washstand, and on top there are some baskets from Kenya. My aunt and I had some adventures looking for things like that. So this basket is kind of like projects that are teed up or half finished. There's some designs and things in there, so I'm not gonna go into that one right now. This basket is full of things that I need to finish or frog, and some of these tours are going to be going through this basket one at a time and determining, let's finish this thing or let's not. I am mostly a monogamous knitter, meaning I work on one thing at a time, but there's a couple like really old projects that are stuck in that basket and I need to move them on in one way or the other. This basket right here is full of spinning fiber, things to spin, as is, embarrassingly, this. Yeah, that's as full as it goes. In here, in these drawers, I have some paper bags, and inside the paper bags is sock yarn. There's a thing that people have done, and I've done it a few times, called a personal mystery sock club. And the concept is you take a bunch of sock yarns that you want to knit into socks and you put them in brown paper bags. And rather than picking your next sock yarn, you do it sort of blindly. So I haven't been doing it lately, but I have done it in the past, and I've let my kids pick which bag of yarn I'm going to knit from next. So turning this back around, in this drawer, which sometimes sticks, I've got just little bits of things I need. I've got some pom-poms for the tops of hats. I've got an old incandescent light bulb that I actually use when I need to darn socks. Knit stitch blockers for when you're pinning out stuff. These are some masks that I sewed, and I've just got them there in case a couple people need them when we get back to work. My nitty knotty is in here for when I wind yarn and when I spin yarn and need to sort of wind it off. This is a bag of like trash bits when I cut off bits of yarn when I'm weaving in ends and things, so that when I make something like a knit toy that needs to be stuffed, I actually stuff it with those bits of yarn. I've also in the past thrown them outside for like birds to weave in their nest, but then I read somewhere that that's not good for them. So I have no idea, but I use it to stuff in toys. So that is this wash stand, sort of ready to go projects, finish or frog, which I'm going to go through, and spinning fiber fits in here. Personal mystery sock yarn club in these drawers, and sort of tools in here. So speaking of tools, I'm going to see if I can get to this. I'll start here. This is a loom that I bought used at a garage sale a few years ago, and it was still warped with the original yarn that came with it from Harrisville Designs. And there it is. So I finished it, and I need to teach myself how to finish it off and sew that off. I know it'll be pretty easy once I just look it up. This is a Fortnum & Mason's Christmas hamper. I've mentioned a few times that I'm working on a long-term blanket design. That's the yarn for the blanket. Sorry, can't really show you more right now. This is my winding table. This was an old end table that my husband got at, like Goodwill or something like that a few years ago, and he used to use it as an end table, and I only very recently realized that it works perfectly as a winding table, and I don't have to set this up every time. So that pops out for the Swift. I've got a Stanwood ball winder that I bought last year after my knit picks one died. I've already got a scale on here, a pair of scissors. Now this I'm going to talk more about in a different IG live, but when I dug all my grandmother's knitting machine out of the basement, this is actually her antique Japanese Swift. So I haven't tried it yet, but I will on a future Instagram live. Right here is all the tall stuff. This is the actual knitting machine. You can see it says made in Japan. This is a metal case, and inside is the knitting machine. So I'll do that on a future IG live as well. This is a window shade that I sometimes use as a backdrop for photos. I've got blocking wires. This is my tripod. This here is a bag of finished knits that are designs that are about to be released. So I've got them in there for when I need to do photography and stuff. This box is not usually in here cluttering up space, but this also came out of the basement with my grandmother's stuff on the knitting machine, and it's got all kind of cool stuff that I need to go through. So this is a knitting gauge table if you have your stitches per inch, and I guess inches, it'll tell you how many stitches that is. There are all these really old knitting machine newsletters. Some of them are a little water damaged, but they've got patterns in them. For example, girls boat neck pullover. That is the entirety of the pattern right there. and there's no picture, and it's just one size 12, in 1960 language, which is not size 12 now. And yeah, I guess you just have to kind of trust what's on there. So I need to go through these. This is the one from January, February 1965, and probably scan them in or something and see if I can make them available to people without like messing up copyright things. But there's her old notes and stuff. Flying time by aircraft. My grandfather was a pilot, and so she apparently took this flying time by aircraft binder and started machine knitting, designing sweaters. Aunt Beth, I don't know if you're still there, but that says Beth's White Raglan Sleeves. So this was apparently a sweater for you when you were about 1 or 2 years old. So I need to go through this box. And again, one of my IG Lives will probably be going through this box. So here we are. We've got this table. Right here is an old serger that my stepmom gave to me. It was her friend's, and her friend passed away. My stepmom has her own serger, and so she gave me this one. I've only used it once or twice because I'm not very proficient in it. Here's how the internet works. This is backdrops for photography. These are lights that shine pretty brightly for when I'm doing photography. There's a serger handbook. These are more backdrops and clips and a reflector thing for doing photography. And then the bottom layer is not tripods, but sort of stands that backdrops and things can go on. There's also some umbrellas to soften the light for the photography for those lights. Back in the back here is a cutting mat for sewing and a like cutting ruler thing. Here we have a chair. This is where I was blocking stuff yesterday. I decided I am going to make the Shelly summer top that I talked about yesterday. So those were my swatches that I made last night. Down here is a sweater I need to repair. This is a bag of stuff to take into the wool for the Free to a Good Home table. These 3 boxes aren't really craft room type stuff. It's special papers for my sons that I want to save from their schools. So they've each got a box, and the idea is that there's different folders per year. These are some ongoing projects. Up here is stuff I need to mend. Right here is things I've been using for the knitting machine. So you use a lot of waste yarn in knitting machine, and these were some swatches that I was making when I was learning what I was doing. Down here we have little tiny project bags. We have just sort of bowls of notions and stitch markers and stuff like that. This is, hello, so many familiar faces. This is a bin of finished designs. So I tend to not wear them a ton. It depends on the design. These are sock blockers from Burning Impressions on Etsy. My husband got them for me for Christmas with my logo. This is a bag of empty project bags. So when I need a project bag, I just grab it. There's my camera, buttons, and in this Fortnum & Mason's hamper is acid dyes if I ever want to dye yarn. I'm not going to do it professionally, but sometimes you just want to play. And then tucked underneath are blocking mats. And then right here, there's some free weights in case the mood strikes. All right, so back to the desk. Like I said, there's a big pile of books here. These are actually files for our family. These are some office supplies, but down here I do have stuff for some giveaways, my business cards, enamel pins, things like that. In here I've got more finished designs and swatches. I've got knitting tools, spinning tools. What's in here? I don't even know. Oh, cardboard toilet paper tubes that I was going to use for like storage bobbins. And back here, drawings with my kids, bunch of old swatches from various designs and things. Chaos of the desk. So that has been the full tour of this little space. I'll do a 360 again so you can kind of see everything. And I appreciate everyone that has joined me for this so that I'm not talking to myself. I love you too, Aunt Beth. And that is the whole area. We've got bunting from Kenya that I bought. So I will see if anyone has any questions about any of this or how any of it works. I'm going to be doing more of these over this week. I'll do Tuesday. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I have a topic. What was it? I wrote it down somewhere. Give me just a second. This is hard doing one-handed. All right, so we're going to be looking at something from the Finisher Frog Basket. So we'll pull something out of there. I'll talk about its origin, where it started, why it stalled, and what I'm going to do with it. On Wednesday at 1 p.m., I'm going to demonstrate how I hand comb fiber. I'm processing a Romney fleece to turn it into a sweater, and part of that process is to hand comb the fiber. So I'll talk through that. That will also be at 1 p.m. Eastern. On Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I will be on here with Sarah Shira. She's at imagine_landscapes. And we will be talking about Throwback Thursday, Point Counterpoint Volume 1, which we collaborated on together. Good to see you too, Kay. And then Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Boston Jen. She is Jennifer Lassonde of the Downseller Studio podcast. Her account is at BostonGen1. Hi, Leah. Hi, Reyes. At 8 p.m. on Friday, we will be talking about our Point Counterpoint Volume 5 collection, which we just released on Ravelry this past Saturday. And it's in my Kino Knits store. It's 4 accessories, 2 sets, with 1 design by each designer in each set. And the whole thing is $5 on Ravelry right now with Ravelry coupon code COLLAB, COLLAB. So that's my plan. Tomorrow and Wednesday at 1, doing some things in here by myself. And then Thursday at 3 with Sarah. And Friday at 8 with Jen. Whew. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up. This will go into my Instagram stories. It'll be available for 24 hours. And I'm going to try to learn about saving these and see if I can post them on YouTube or something for later viewing. So thank you everyone for joining me. I will talk to y'all later.